Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. Namaskaram. Namaskaram. Yesterday, one thought came after our Satsang session that tomorrow, if everything goes well by Papa's grace, today we may take up 5th chapter. It's relatively a small chapter, though very important. And tomorrow will be the 6th chapter. That means if he makes us to complete tomorrow, 1/3 of the entire. No? We are just having a Vande Bharat travel. In this Vande Bharat travel, we will be covering about 1/3. Instead of going ahead, will it be possible for all of you to kindly cooperate, to pick up or pick out a few slogas from each chapter? The slogas which connect with our daily life. Because we are not going through an academic exercise. To what extent we have been able to understand it from our practical point of life, practical. So far we have lived a life, we don't know how long he is going to make us live, but whatever it may be, even for a day or for 1 year or for a month or for a week or a month or a year or years, whether it will be useful for us. With this perspective, we look at it. We are not going in the traditional way. So the sixth, when if we complete it tomorrow is Friday, yeah? Saturday, the whole day, if possible. It's only a request. Or on Monday, if it is not possible. All of you must be having the Gita text. You pick out a few slogas which according to you gives you some direction based upon your life so far lived, and also throw some light on how we should live further. And we all pull it together and then try to summarize or make it in an orderly way, so that this collective learning will help us. The first learning we are going, Vande Bharat. We can't help it because neither we are competent to take it up. We have not had that schooling, like on that basis. We used to hear Gita lectures. We have in our mind great regard for Gita. Many slokas probably we might remember. One thing we are convinced, it's a manual for our life. Absolutely no doubt about it. But to make it a reality in the fullest form, we need some more churning, reflection, all those things. So whoever is in a position to do that may kindly make an effort. Because God prompting through so many hearts of devotees, sadhaks or devotees, it will surely be a helpful thing for others. Yesterday when we calculated, up to 6 it comes to nearly 280 slogas. So from these 280 slogas, suppose we pick about 28 slogas or 30 slogas. In the second chapter, we may have to pick a few more extra because it is 72 stanzas. From rest of the things, 4 or 5, something like that. request you to ponder over deeply and then send us through email so that we can work it out. Or if you find it difficult to draft the words and all those things, you can express it. Even if you pick some slokas, that also we can work it out. Those who are in a position to link it in their own words, it will be wonderful. Those who are not in a position to do so, we can only pick a few slokas, okay. Because that comes from him, you know. What do you feel?
I was feeling that this is going very fast. I was feeling that it's going very fast. Because I really need to get involved. I need to get involved. She said I was feeling it's going very fast. I need to get involved.
I couldn't hear.
I'm listening to what you're talking. It is becoming only passive. I need to get involved. So I would like to go through the slokas, but it may take some time. I will do it. She will do it. Will take some time for her to do.
ठीक है. अच्छा, you want more time. You want more time.
Yes, Swami.
But unless you make a beginning, how will you know? So you try now. Even if you pick one sloka, it is worth it. We are starting from somewhere, no? Everybody may not be able to cover 30. Doesn't matter. But we make a beginning of these 280. Suppose we pick 5 slokas. The idea is not to get any idea, not to get any theme. We are making an effort, to enter into Gita. That is important. Whether we are in a position to pick 30 is casually said. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. There may be one sloka from one chapter, probably that might attract our attention. A casual, whatever we have heard now, a random plunging. Those who are hearing here, they also can try. This will the tangible gain is, first of all, we are taking out the Bhagavad Gita from the shelf, opening it, and now there is a motivation that I have to pick. And that, you will be searching, the mind will be searching for a sloka and its meaning, which aligns with our thinking. Otherwise, this exercise will not be of any use. So 6 chapters. Here in our 1 hour program, we went through the introductory part, clarion call, what is Gita, essence, theme of the Gita. Like that we split, because when we started going deeper into it. So to make it more and more effective, some other device is also necessary. So tomorrow, if we are in a position to complete this Vande Bharat trip, then Saturday and Monday, we have that. We will try. How many are coming? What is the result of this effort? To what extent our mind is involved in this? Is it casual hearing and going, or has it touched and kindled us to go a little more deeper? Not only 218, because we are not well versed in Sanskrit. We don't have time to go through independently and intensely. So a few, random. Because the process of selecting at random itself will be a great, great help. Something goes on inside, to select. What is that? So will you all make some effort? Lakshmi Narayan Garu? Will you try? You try. I will also try. Like all of you. You will all try, You try. Because the very notion of trying itself, will enable us to go a little more deeper from the superficial level. Otherwise, we are hearing, that's all. We are not interested in that. We are trying to somehow enable the Gita to enter into us. Okay, with that background, we will try to go through the 5th chapter.
She said something in Tamil. She said she sent an email. She finished it, so she sent it. She said she finished it. Yes. Chitra finished it. She sent an email.
How can you finish it? We have not even gone. 5th and 6th we have not taken up.
I told her yesterday. First four we told yesterday.
You wait. We are in the 5th chapter. What is it called?
Karma Sannyas.
5th is called Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Okay. This chapter highlights the difference between sensory pleasure and the bliss of union with the Supreme Atman. Sensory pleasures are fleeting, temporary, and often lead to misery, while the joy of the Atman is eternal, infinite, free from sorrow. Sri Krishna emphasizes that the wise person does not seek fleeting sensory delights, but remains content in the lasting bliss of the eternal. Even we may not know, the very fact that we are sitting and hearing, it is because of that. Because for the other thing, we don't have to sit here, no? So somehow the mind has prioritized now to think about this 1 hour under some pretext. Satsang, something about slogas. But ultimately, we want to connect ourselves with something deeper. This is the truth. Sri Krishna emphasizes that the wise person does not seek fleeting sensory delights, but remains content in the lasting bliss of the eternal. Sensory joy stems from ignorance and delusion, whereas the joy of the Atman arises from knowledge, freedom, enlightenment. We may not know that, but that is the one prompting us to sit and hear this. It is clearly explained that both sannyasa and karma yoga, renunciation and selfless action, lead to the realization of the supreme bliss and the Atman. While paths share similarities, Karma Yoga is considered superior because it allows for spiritual progress through action rather than renunciation. So among the two, Karma Yoga and Karma Sannyas, Karma Yoga is preferable. In the second chapter, second sloka itself, he will say that. Why? You have to keep on thinking. Both paths require liberation from desire, hatred, dualities, with the ultimate goal being union with the Atman. The realized soul sees no distinction between the karma yogi who works for the benefit of the world and the sannyasi who has renounced action. The karma yogi, purified and detached, acts without ego or attachment, perceiving their own self in all beings. Their actions, driven by divine energy, Shakti, remain untainted by sin and much like a lotus leaf untouched by water. This selfless approach harmonizes the yogi with the divine while maintaining activity in the world. This is the preamble that struck to us. For this fifth, all of us are used to actions only, activity. None of us can remain inactive. So what is our nature? To become active. With that nature, we will try. If we try to impose renunciation of action, which is not now with us, after some time, it dwindles. Many people with ardent desire, they get into, and then finally they find it difficult. So that is why he clearly mentions in the second sloka, both of them are equally valid, but karma yoga is preferable. We will go by stanza by stanza. So sloka 1, Arjuna seeks clarity as to what is to be chosen between karma yoga and karma sannyas. When he talked about karma yoga and jnana karma sannyas, third and fourth, he got little confused. So Bhagavan says, the second sloka, that both of them are equally valid. Karma yoga is preferable. A person who is free from desire and malice is a nitya sannyasi. A person who is free from desire and malice is a nitya sannyasi, because when he is free from pairs of opposites, it is easy for him to get himself free from the karmic bondage. A person who is free from desire and malice is a nitya sannyasi, because when he is free from pairs of opposites, it is easy for him to get himself free from the karmic bondage. So freeing from the pairs of opposites. Four and five. Ignorant people ignorant people treat path of knowledge and path of action as separate. But if one is steadfastly following any one path, he gets the fruit of both. Without karma yoga, Sankhya yoga is difficult to accomplish, path of knowledge. Whereas karma yogi achieves the ultimate in no time if he has steady wisdom. The Karma Yogi, who has fully conquered his mind and senses, whose heart is pure and identified himself with the self of all beings, remains untainted even though performing actions. Those who have scaled the heights, though involved in all activities, through sense of perceptions and sense of action, feel they do not do anything. Knowing that it is the senses that are moving among the sense objects. The well-poised one, forsaking the fruits of action, attains peace. Unbalanced one, led by desire, is bound by desire of fruit of action. Well-poised one, forsaking the fruits of action, attains peace. Unbalanced one, led by desire, is bound by desire of fruit of action. The subduer of the senses, having renounced all action by discrimination, rests happily in body, neither acting nor causing to act. Neither agency nor action does the Lord create for the world, nor does He bring about the union with the fruit of action. It is the nature that does all. The omnipresent divine does not take the merit or demerit of anyone. Knowledge is enveloped by ignorance, hence beings do get deluded. Those who have their intellect absorbed in that, whose self is that, whose steadfastness is that, whose consummation is that, their impurities is cleansed by knowledge, they attain to non-birth. The knowers of the self look with an equal eye on all equally. Those who are steady-minded, even in this mortal world, they indeed rest in Brahman. Resting in Brahman, they are free from opposites. One is assured of undecaying happiness who is free from external contacts, who is in deep meditation on Brahman. A person who revels in bliss is not carried away by pleasure and pain, which are the products of senses and sense objects. A person who has conquered lust and anger, he or she is a yogi. Whose happiness is within, whose relaxation is within, whose light is within, that yogi alone gains absolute freedom. With imperfections exhausted, doubts dispelled, senses controlled, engaged in good of all beings, they obtain absolute freedom. Shutting out contact with external objects, studying the eyes between the eyebrows, restricting the even currents of prana and apana inside the nostril, the senses, mind and intellect controlled, with moksha as the supreme goal, freed from desire, fear and anger, such a person is free forever. That he is the doer of all action and friend of all, one attains peace. 29 slokas. We will also go through a few slokas with the commentaries, and then we will come to the learnings. Sannyasa karma yogascha nishreyaskara bhavo tayostu karma sannyasat karma yogo vishishyate. This is the first one. No? Renunciation of action and yoga of action both lead to the highest bliss. But of the two, yoga of action is superior to the renunciation of action. Here in this stanza under review, Krishna is explaining that both activity and renunciation of activity can take the individual to the highest good. But he wants his disciple that of these two, to act is superior to the renunciation of action. Here we must understand that Krishna is not in any sense of the term decrying renunciation as inferior to vigilant and vigorous activity. To say so would be parading our ignorance or at least a lack of understanding of what the Lord has so far said. Gita is given out in the form of a conversation between Krishna, the immortal teacher, and a specific student facing a given problem and having some difficult, definitely known mental weaknesses and intellectual debilities, the Arjuna. Essentially here, the Pandava warrior is full of vasanas, and for their exhaustion, he has to work hard in the battlefield. Those of us who are in the Arjuna state of psychology, suffering from the Arjuna disease, the treatment is activity with least conscious selfishness. The advice given here that the performance action is nobler than the renunciation is to be therefore very carefully understood. Nyayasa nityasanyasi yonadveshti na kankshati nirdvando hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. He should be known as a perpetual sannyasi who neither hates nor desires. For, free from the pairs of opposites, he is easily set free from bondage. Likes and dislikes, success and failure, joy and sorrow, and such other pairs of opposites are the wheels of the mind on which it rolls forward, earning to itself the experiences of life. Our intellect can register a situation or a condition only with reference to its comparative estimate with the opposite. Thus, I can understand light only with reference to my knowledge of darkness. To compare is the only way of understanding given to man. If there is no contrast for a thing, we cannot gain its knowledge. If comparison and contrast are the methods of knowing for the mind-intellect instrument, then to renounce them is to renounce the vehicle. A car is a vehicle that moves on earth. It cannot be used in water. Thus, if I am sailing on the ocean, certainly I am not moving in the car, but I am using a vehicle that can float on the waters. In the field of plurality, where comparison and contrast are possible, I can use a vehicle of the mind and intellect. The stanza here states that he is a true sannyasi who has gone beyond the perception of contrast, which necessarily means that he is one who has transcended the inner instrument of mind and intellect. This is no easy joke. Apart from indicating the idealism of renunciation, he indicates the revolutionary times when a renaissance of Hinduism was staged in the age of Mahabharata. Even Arjuna, a well-educated man, felt that sannyasa consisted in running away from the battlefield of life. We all go to the first chapter, and second chapter also. He says, better than this, I will renounce action. I will beg. So that is why this has been brought out beautifully here. Even Arjuna, a well-educated man, felt that sannyasa consisted in running away from the battlefield of life to a safer and quieter valley of the Himalayas. At such a time, to announce to the world sannyasa is to be garb, is to be the garb of the mind and not the cloth of the body, and that renunciation should be earned as an honest wage for right actions. in the outer world must have been a daring, revolutionary statement. Gita is too full of them, hence its importance as a modern scripture for the Hindus. Its appeal to the modern man of the world is also because of these flashes of original restatements in the Gita. Sankhya Yoga Pratagvara Pravadandina Panditaha Yegam Apyastida Samyag Upayor Vindate Balam. Children, not the wise, speak of Sankhya, that means knowledge, and yoga, yoga of action, as distinct. He who truly established in one obtained the fruits of both. Then, Sanyasastu Mahabaho Dukkamaptum Ayogadaha Yogayukdo Munirbrahma Nachirenadi Gachati. By renunciation, O mighty armed, but renunciation, O mighty armed, is hard to attain without yoga. The yoga harmonized man of steady contemplation quickly goes to Brahman. Without, he says, the Lord with all the emphasis at his command is declaring once and forever the final conclusion that were arrived at by the immortal sages of yore regarding the place of right action in self-rediscovery. Without performance of action, the renunciation of action is impossible. Very simple, no? Without performance of action, renunciation of action is impossible. Without having a thing, we cannot renounce it. To renounce life and the world because one has been sadly thwarted in one's hopes and ambition is not renunciation. In this sense, the polishing of the mind is a process very similar to that by which we clean the metalware by using any available metal polish. The item that is darkened by time is purified by applying some polishing chemical on its surface. The polish is the solvent of the oxide that is covering the brilliance of the vessel. After a time, when we remove the coating of the polish, we find that not only is the chemical polish removed, but the black oxide also is removed, thereby leaving the vessel brightened and attractive. Beautiful.
Our chemical polish is Ramanam Swami. Our chemical polish is Ramanam.
Ramanam is the polish. Similarly, the mind can be purified only by the process of treating it with right action. When thus treated, the mind gets purified from its vasana blemishes, and with such a purified mind alone can we, during the deeper meditation hours, come to renounce all our activities. We have all been chanting, we have all been involved in various types of spiritual discipline. But to have the real gain, Papa strongly advocates us to go for inward journey. Think about it. We do something and then we withdraw. Nowadays, the fifth Mauna session was over. Now the prompting is that every Sunday, second Sunday of the month, we will have this Mauna session. Why are we having it? For one day we try to withdraw from all our labeled spiritual practices and try to go within. That is possible only because for the rest of the 30 days, 29 days, we are involved in activities. So that we can clearly feel from the handouts, their feedback, we find many of them have written this. We never had any occasion to sit quiet. Always activity. One day to put a stop. We are enjoying it because we are putting a stop to our activities. Polish. Similarly, the mind can be purified only by the process of treating it with right action. When thus treated, the mind gets purified from its vasana blemishes, and with such a purified mind alone can we, during the deeper meditation hours, come to renounce all activities. Before this preparation, if we try to renounce activities, we may remain physically inactive, but mentally ever industrious. Extrovertedness of the mind is not conducive to the inner polish. In fact, extrovertedness is the very mud that sullies the godly beauty and strength of the mind. This is the greatest discovery of the masters who had made in the ancient days. Then, Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma Vijitatma Jitendriyaha Sarva Budhatma Budhatma Kurvannapi na Lipyate. He who is devoted to the path of action, just like us, whose mind is quite pure, who has conquered the self, who has subdued his senses, who realizes his self as the self in all beings, he is not tainted. When through Karma Yoga a man has thus gained an inward peace, both at his mental and his intellectual level, it becomes child's play for him to deny and to restrain, to control and to guide his sense organs and their never-ending appetites. A seeker who has thus controlled himself on all these three different layers in him, namely his body, mind, intellect, becomes the best fitted for the highest meditation. Without that, we will be sitting, that's all. In fact, all our obstacles in meditation are nothing other than the milestones of our sensuous appetites, emotional agitations, and desire problems. When once these chains are broken down, it comes to the natural condition of high meditation, wherein the rediscovery of the self must be instantaneous and complete. This realization of the self cannot be partial. It cannot be if the meditator understands himself to be exclusively divine. To the realized divinity of the self is infinite and all-pervading. From the innermost sanctum of the spirit, when he looks out, he realizes nothing but divinity everywhere, at all times. Therefore, the Lord says that such a one realizes one's own self as the self in all beings. And here, this is also very interesting. We remember Papa's In Quest of God, the first page of the outpourings. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyate tattvavid pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigvan ashnan gachan swapan shwasan pralapan visrijan grinnan unmishan nimishan napi indriyan indriyarteshu vartanta iti dhare. I do nothing at all. This would be harmonized knower of truth. Think, seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, going, sleeping, breathing, speaking, letting go, seizing, opening and closing of the eyes, convinced that the senses move among the sense objects. A very important point Sri Krishna raises. Everywhere, the me and mine goes and takes over the ownership. All these are the activities. So we were remembering Papa's.
Swamiji, Papa's inner first one.
Not responding. Okay.
Outpouring, Swamiji.
I am trying to take, outpouring in the system I am trying to take, but the system is not responding. Let me try again.
Should I try something?
No. Ashram publications. Word. Request of God.
You just stop sharing first.
I thought I can show them.
You just stop sharing the screen and share another one.
Well, let me see. Everybody can see that?
Yes, Swamiji. Yes, Swamiji. Yes, yes.
O Ram, what thy slave Ramdas should do or should not do must be determined by thee alone. He is bewildered. He is helpless, making him resign all to thee. Now at the moment, I have taken over the doership and enjoyership, ownership. That's what he says. He is bewildered. He is helpless. Make him resign all to thee. Let him live, move, and have his being. Let him eat, drink, sleep, move, sit, stand, talk, think, look, hear, smell, touch, do everything in thy name and for thy sake only. O Ram, O Divine Mother, Ramdas is thine totally, completely, heart, soul, body, mind, everything, anything. In our Gita study, every now and then we have to bring in this dimension. This is the only way by which we can ensure that it doesn't slip into an academic exercise. Because we are praying, every time we are praying to step in and make me drop the doership. I cannot do it by myself. I have trained my equipment to own, to possess, to feel that I am the planner, I am the doer. So we have to, somewhere we have to do that. That is the message Papa is giving by living. The Naiva Ginjit Karomedi Yukto Manyate Tattvavid Pashyan Shrinwan Sparshan Jigran Ashnan Gachan Swapan Swashan Pralapan Visrijan Grinnan Unmishan Nimishan Napi Indriyan Indriyarteshu Vartanta Idi Dhareyan. I feel I am doing it. That the senses move among the sense objects. Then I become, in order that we may come to withdraw ourselves from our own wrong conception of agency, we must have a substitute knowledge bit in ourselves, which should help us to live in the new experience. When I am ignorant of my waking state personality, I become victimized by my own dream identity. So then, another stanza, Kayena manasa buddhya kevalair indriyairapi yogina karma kurvanti sangam tektva atma shuddhaye. Yogis having abundant attachment perform actions merely by the body, by the form actions merely by the body, by the senses for the purification of the self. In all scientific treatises after the statement of truth, there should be examples illustrating. These karma yogins continuously employ their organs of activity, kaya, mind, intellect, and organs of knowledge, renouncing all attachments. Here the word merely is to be understood and read along with these action organs. A karma yogin's attempt is to keep himself within himself as though he is a detached but an interested observer of all that is happening around and within him. Today morning when we were sitting for the Ramnam session, you remember? Papa, same word he was using. Be an observer of your actions. Be an observer of your action, all actions. A karma yogin's attempt is to keep himself within himself as though he is a detached but an interested observer of all that is happening around and within him. When he thus observes himself from within himself as a worker in any given field, it becomes easy for him to see that all actions belong to the above mentioned instruments of action and not to the detached observer in him. These are all we can verify by ourselves. When we walk, we know that we are walking. But at the same time, the leg, steps. So the observer. Here, however, we must realize that the observer in himself is not the whole truth, but the observer is truth standing on the open balcony of the intellect. Because an observer, we know that we are observing, Beautiful. That is very subjective. We have to apply the mind. So this also has to be tried by all of us. Oh, it's already Madate Kashyat. Tadbuddhya tadatmanam. Anyway, more of it tomorrow we'll say. So the shutting out. So now what is the learning from the chapter? When the God dimension is added to action, every action, he is the prompting one. He has given us the body, mind, intellect. We should know that we have not done anything for this body, mind, intellect, the present me and mine. So he has given us this body, mind, intellect. He has also given us a field. He is also giving a prompting. So when the God dimension is added to action, even the very act of doing will not be felt. It becomes spontaneous, natural. The Lord says that Karma Yoga is superior to Sannyasa. Why does he say so when there is no difference between them? What does it mean? When the Lord says so, it is from the standpoint of a seeker. A very important point. Doing everything without being active oneself is possible for a realized soul, not for a seeker. But it is possible for a seeker, at least to some extent, to follow the way of doing everything without getting attached to work. That is, acting outwardly but remaining inactive within. Working without acting will be a riddle for a seeker. He will be at loss to understand it. For a seeker, Karma Yoga is both the way and the goal. Sannyasa is only the goal. For a seeker, Karma Yoga is both the way and the goal, but sannyasa is only the goal, it cannot be the way. Hence, from the standpoint of the seeker, Karma Yoga is superior and preferable to sannyasa. When there is total mental involvement in every action, by bringing in the God dimension, one will not feel the sense of agency while involved in action. In that sense, karma becomes akarma, which is free from stress, strain, or indifference. Perform actions like the sun. The sun does not boast and always exercises its duty silently. Our action should evolve to that level. Such a state will be full of inner and creative motivations. Doing everything with absence of sense of doership is karma, karma yoga. Apparently doing nothing but triggering many activities around is sannyasa. For the sadhaka, karma yoga is preferable to sannyasa. Yoga, which frees one from all misery, is attained only by him who is moderate in diet, recreation, regulated in performing actions, and in sleeping and waking. This includes regularity, self-discipline, commitment, recognizing the existence of different parts of the body and its harmonious functioning, aiming for perfection, concentration, tickling various parts of the body which otherwise remains inactive, regular upkeep of the body. All these things help us to understand. Because this will, oh, my heart is, I don't do anything. Digestion takes place. The so-called me and mine does nothing. But it still goes on, So whether it is possible or not, we can watch ourselves and see for ourselves. So let us all do some manana on these. Tomorrow we will take up the 6th one, and we request again and again, all of you, try to pick or select a few stanza from these 5 now, and tomorrow 6. We are not worried about the number of slokas. We are making an effort to connect ourselves with it so that it doesn't become a what do you call, hearing and going. No. What is that?
Someone's mic is on. It is Nalini Pai's mic is on. Nalini Pai, auntie, Nalini auntie, please put off your mic.
Right. So we will try these five stanzas. First is Arjuna Vishada Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, then Jnana Karma, then latest one, Karma Sannyas. Now from these, today suppose after the Satsang when you are at home, suppose with that bhavana you open the Gita book and then try to find out. Just go through random. See whether what aligns to your thinking. And then start. This is one way of slowly entering into Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, again, it will go back to the shelf. Something you will remember. the first chapter. Again, we will go through the day after tomorrow. We will go through the introduction, everything once again. And by that time, suppose if we have a few slogas from everyone, we will try to think about it, go deep into it, and then connect with the central theme. We can take it as the key points in that particular. To us, each one may have. We don't have to follow anybody's. What God prompts us from within, from each chapter, that we take it. And suppose there are 10 or 15 people who are giving this idea, we pull the entire thing and then sort it out and then go through that. That is the guidance we are getting from within. So to get that guidance, he wanted us to go through this Vande Bharat Yatra, fastest. And then we will try to pick and see how it helps us before we enter into the next 6, which may start from Tuesday, then Monday or Tuesday. So in this 6, let us try to consolidate our earnings, whatever is possible. Even then it will be only not 1%, doesn't matter. But at least from nothing we move to that, A central theme is to become aware of his presence within. That should be stamped in our heart. We are not interested in anything else. As Papa says in the book, what is that book? In Thus Speaks Ramdas, the first page. Human life is a rare acquisition. Its purpose is to know the Atman, by knowing which you have nothing more to know. Everyone must realize that the divine is within him. God is within your heart. You are his embodiment. You are he, but you do not know that. There is a veil of ignorance separating you from God. Remove that veil. First God, everything else comes next. This is the first quotation in Thus Speaks Ramdas. So we are prompted now to connect Gita talks. Every time we are trying to understand some ways to remove that curtain which separates us from him. He is within us, there is a curtain. We are unable to remove that curtain. So he is asking us to go through this vis-a-vis our life. Disconnected from our life, we cannot go there. So we relate ourselves to our very life, individual life, professional life, social life, family life, everything is there. We connect with it, and then an effort is made to remove the curtain that is blocking us from becoming aware of his presence within. This is the central truth, central fact. Rooted in that, we try to go through the 6 and see at random which are the slogas that throws some light to this. 100% sure, because when we go with that, the prompting will definitely come from within to go to that particular sloga which gives us some clarity. Please try. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai 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 Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody.
Namaskaram, Swamiji.
Namaskar. Yes, namaskar. Oh.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Namaste. Oh, Swamiji. Hari Om. Good.
Namaste, Pranam, Swamiji.
Pranam. Yes, tell me.
Swamiji, I don't have Bhagavad Gita with shloka.
Huh?
With the sloka, Gita press you take.
She doesn't have shloka.
Shlokas.com.
Online. Go to Google. Swami Gogalanandaji.
Let not anybody hear this. Hush.